Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Hope everybody had a good summer. We're excited here. We're ready to get going this year. We've had a lot of our players here. We feel we had a successful off season as far as adding some players. Our young players had good summers. They developed. They had good summer leagues. And now we finally have everybody back together, and we're ready to build on what we started last year. So with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Ernie, the expectations for this team last few years has been win more games than the last year, try to get into the playoffs. This year, this national expectations are much higher than that. How do you kind of view that for this team? It's a sort of a different mindset, perhaps, to go into a year. How do you kind of view where the team is in handling the expectations?
Well, we're going to see that as we move forward. Obviously, we feel like we have a good team. We accomplished some good things last year, but that's behind us. You know, and our players at the end of the season, they were not satisfied. They were not happy with the way the season ended, and they've put in some good work. And we want to build on what happened last year. You know, the pressure comes internally. We want to win. We want to be a competitive team, and we want to keep improving. At the same time, we realize that last year is last year. We learned from last year. A lot of good things happened last year, but this year we have to repeat it, and we have to work harder, and we have to come together as a group.
Randy, what's the biggest challenge to making that next step? Because you've got a core group coming back, but some new players, and it is a new year. It's a different mandate this season.
You talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
Okay. Well, listen, as a coach, you want to have these expectations. I'd much rather be sitting here talking about high expectations than you so-called experts thinking we might win 15 or 16 games. It's just another step. We talked about this. We had high expectations last year. You know, I don't think I hid from the fact that, you know, that was one of the things going into the season last year was we need to take the next step to make the playoffs. And now the next step is to build on what we did last year. You know, what's that translate into? You know, as the season unfolds, you kind of, you know, see, you know, exactly where you're at. But I want us to take another step. In that, that's all I've talked to these guys about. And as Ernie just said, the main thing, we're back to ground zero. All right, what we did last year's water under the bridge. Now, what are we going to be satisfied with that? Or are we going to really drive to make that next step? And I've kind of really that's what I've talked to these guys all summer about. Let's have that focus. And as Ernie said, you know, that was a thing that was, you know, for me when we got beaten Game 6 here, I thought I might walk in that locker room and see some satisfaction on the faces of our players that, you know, hey, we got to the second round, we beat the Bulls in the first round, and I saw a lot of disappointment, and that was encouraging to me. That I didn't see. Okay, we you know, be really happy with what we accomplished. They were upset. They thought they could have done more. You know, maybe beating Indiana and getting to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. So to me, that's encouraging. Now we've got to, you know, where are we going to come together? We got 3 new players that we've got to you know, mix in. But you know, the good thing I think with that being, you know, they're veteran guys. That you know, you're not teaching them any new schemes. You know, a lot of these guys, Paul Pierce has seen every scheme possible on how to run from a defensive scheme to an offensive stuff. So I'm not really too worried about that. I like the depth that we have this year. So you know what? Expectations are expectations. My number one thing is we got to take it one step at a time, one day at a time, and we've got to just focus on October. Of what are we doing this month, the month of October, and leading up to that first game of making sure that we're ready, you know, when we open it up that first night.
I'm wondering how the transition from the hunter to the hunted sort of manifests itself. For instance, would a Paul Pierce have signed this team maybe 2 or 3 years ago? The fact that you are now on the map, so to speak, as a playoff team, how does that translate as far as how you do business and what you're able to accomplish?
Well, we're doing business the same way. Obviously, players want to play here. It's a great city. They want to be part of playing with good players. You know, John and Bradley, Nene, March, and our other players have gotten respect for what they did and their work ethic and the way they play the game. We play a real team game, both offensively and defensively, and I think players have taken notice of that. So we were able to add some players with some significant experience to come in here and help us. But we don't do business in any different way. We're trying to put the best possible team out there, and players understand, I think, that we've had, and the new ones, that we're going to have to sacrifice. You know, it's not about one player. It's about team. It's everybody playing together, playing the game the right way. And it's a long season. There's going to be ups and downs like every season, and we have to come together as a group.
Ernie, when you added those pieces, what was your mindset going into the offseason? What kind of players did you want to add? What was your philosophy? Just your goals?
Well, we wanted to add to our core. We liked our core. We liked the way the team came together, but we wanted to add to it. And you never really know in free agency what happens or who becomes available to you, salary cap issues, and what other teams are doing. So we wanted to add some depth to our front court, which I think with Blair and Humphreys we were able to do, and with the players that we have coming back. And then we wanted to add some more experience, and we're able to do that with Paul. And we also put a big emphasis on player development in the offseason, like we always have. And I think our young players had very productive summers. Now they have to put it into play in the regular season, but Glenn and Otto played very well during Summer League, and they worked very hard. And so we'll see how they fit into the whole plan.
Randy, can you talk about how is Pierce going to enter this sort of leadership role that he's used to?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of haven't envisioned what it is. I haven't coached him yet. So until we get into the everyday coach-player kind of relationship that is beginning to develop now. I mean, Paul Pierce is a leader. I know who he is just from coaching on the other sideline against him all these years. And then in talking, obviously, Doc Rivers and I are very close, and he raved about what type of leader he is. And I think he's going to fit right in with that. You know, that was a big part of what we did last year. I thought, with Ernie and how we've built this team and decided what young guys we're going to move forward with, and then, putting around them some more veteran guys with leadership. That was a big step for us last year. Adding the players that we did last year. Drew Gooden that comes in, Al Harrington that comes in, guys with experience that have been through the battles, and I think Paul fits that. In terms of what he can bring to us leadership-wise. I think Paul knows who he is and where he's at in his career, and I think he's going to be really good for our young guys to learn from and watch him and how he conducts himself. Since he's been here, he's one of the first guys in the gym every morning, and that goes along. He don't have to say anything. When you're a young guy and you got him beating you to the gym, you better find out a way to get here before he does. And those are the kind of things I think he can bring.
Randy, you mentioned Ernie mentioned what good summers Glenn and Otto had, and I was wondering, especially with Martell Webster out, what kind of role you see for those two this year.
They're going to dictate to that to me. There's going to be opportunity there, and what I've seen in both of those guys this summer has been very encouraging. They've both worked extremely hard in putting themselves in a position. They're going to be put into a position to have an opportunity to play, and that's going to be dictated by them. I think they've taken another step in their development as players, and now we'll see. That's the intriguing thing about getting started on Tuesday. Now you're up against NBA players night in and night out, and we'll see where that leads. But I'm encouraged with where they are and the step they took this summer.
Randy, in consideration of a more condensed schedule with a longer All-Star break, maybe past stress injuries to Wall and Bill, even how the Spurs kept no one averaging more than 30 minutes last year, will there be an adjusted approach to how minutes?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm not really concerned. I think there's been, this has been blown out of proportion by a lot of things in the media about the All-Star break and the condensed schedule. You know, it is what it is. You know, that's a feel thing. You know, where we're at in the season and type of injuries that you might be fighting at that point. I can't sit here today and tell you that it's going to be different, but obviously I've got you know, to look at those things you know, with some of the older guys and where they're at. But that's kind of a feel thing as you get going into the season and you go through a stretch of, you know, 4 and 5 or 8 and 11, you know, something of that nature that you have to really take a good look at that. But sitting here today, I can't give you a blueprint exactly how that would be.
Randy, how do you expect in the,
You're still here?
yeah,
Oh, shit. Damn, I thought we had a new guy. Oh, no, go ahead. You knew I was going to say something, all right?
I was thinking about just John and Brad this summer, just the experience of being cut at Team USA. Do you expect that to maybe fuel them going forward this year?
Listen, I want guys that want to be the best they can be. You know, the good thing about it is it's gone down through the history since kind of the NBA players have taken over, you know, the Olympic type, the NBA FIBA basketball thing. They're in the pipeline. All right, you know, John's been there a number of years now. Brad, you know, the last couple. I think anytime you can, you know, continue that and keep working it, their time's going to come. You know, it's not. There's a lot of players that have gone through that haven't been there every year, year in and year out. So, you know, it's a process. But I mean, you'd have to ask them if that's something that's going to fuel them. I think there's bigger things that should fuel them in terms of what we need to do and taking the next step. But hey, I want guys to want the best for themselves in situations like that.
Ernie, what was your approach to pitching to Paul Pierce, specifically to get him to take a salary that was such a big cut for him?
Well, you know, we were looking to see, make sure we had that position covered, and we approached a lot of different players because in free agency, that's just what you have to do. You have to cover your bases and see who might be available to us. But when we found out that he might be available, he was extremely exciting to us because of what he's done. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's a big-time late-game player. He's been in big games for so many years, and he has great credibility. He's a great competitor. And everything we heard about him was that he's great in the locker room. He loves to compete. He's a basketball junkie. He loves the game. As Randy said, he's the first guy in, one of the last guys out. He gets his shots up, and he has his routine, and everybody can learn from that. So we were excited when we found the ability to have a guy like that to maybe come on board with us, and the possibility came up. Obviously, we had a hole to fill there, and we were talking simultaneously, and we're very happy to have Paul and him being here the last 2 weeks. I mean, he leads by example, but for example, today he pulls over one of the young guys who didn't come across and get through a screen the right way, and he showed him what footwork and the timing and everything else. So he's going to add a tremendous amount to our ball club, and we're glad to have him.
Could both of you discuss the pros and cons of having camp here in the facility, and where do you see it going in the future?
Gym's a gym. You know, I mean, you can look at it. You can look at it different ways. I don't really think one way or the other. I was always a player that liked to get away. You know, at camp when I played, I liked that. Some players like to sleep in their own bed. You know, you have that positive of being able to do that, being around the surroundings, the weight room, you know, the locker room, you know, everything being the same. So I mean, I'm sure if you polled the players, you'd probably get half and half. Some would, some wouldn't. It's just I don't really look too much into that situation. I mean, we weren't really out of town the last 5 years, other than Richmond the one time. I think that was as far as what. But I mean, George Mason, hell, half of you probably live out there.
Ernie,
Yes.
I mean, do you foresee this being a permanent thing?
Yeah, this is the first time we've been here for training camp. Obviously, training camp usually is 4 or 5 days, and you come back and have this routine anyway. But to have everybody start a routine right away is a good thing, and nothing is etched in stone. We'll see how it works. We'll discuss it in next year, and then we'll see what we do next year. But for now, I think it's a good situation. The players are very familiar here. They know what's going on, and we can get in a little bit of a real routine a little bit earlier. But as far as moving forward, we'll see.
Coach, last year defense was a big identity of your team. Trevor Ariza especially was one of your best defenders, often guarded the opponent's best offender. Who do you see taking that role this year? Is it a combination?
Yeah, it's a combination. We weren't really we were a team defensive team. That's not going to change. That's going to be stressed from day one again. That's what we got. That's where we earn our keep, is with where we are defensively as a team. Now, a team changes every year, and you adjust to that. Paul is probably one of the better team defenders. Did we lose that ability of what Trevor gave us from a one-on-one standpoint? Probably a little bit, but now that's what opportunity for an Otto Porter, all right, or Glenn Rice to show me that they can do that. I've seen some of the signs like that, and again, until we get on and playing games the right way, who might be capable of doing that. Bradley Bill should be a better defender one-on-one this year, all right, this being his third year. John Wall each year has gotten tremendously better, all right, from a one-on-one standpoint. I don't want our guys really focusing on that. I want them focusing on what we need to do as a team from a defensive standpoint. But I think each year as you grow and you add things to your game, I think that's going to come with guys that I just mentioned, that we should become stronger from an individual standpoint just by the work and another year's experience of playing defense.
Randy, you touched on a couple of things that Paul should be able to help you guys. Offensively, just curious, what is it you envision with him out there, and specifically end-of-game situations with John?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of different things. I mean, Paul can do a lot of different things. I haven't had, really a guy from that position that we've been able to throw two in the post, play out of the post with his back to the basket a little bit. He can play in pick and rolls with the ball in his hand. He can isolate, some coming down the stretch. He's a very versatile player, and the dimension that probably he hadn't seen himself do last year was playing some four. Last year in Brooklyn as they came down the stretch and made their run into the playoffs. So very versatile, and you guys hear me use that word all the time. As a coach, that's as good a thing as I can have. Versatility in the players that we have on this roster that can play multiple positions, that you can throw different looks out there, and Paul really encompasses all that.
Randy, as a coach, is there a fine line between addressing last year means nothing and last year we got something to build on?
I never said that last year doesn't mean nothing. Last year we got to use. Are we going to use it as a stepping stone to this year? We accomplished some things. I want them to understand it. They understand that. When I say we're back to ground zero, is everybody's 0-0 right now. All right, now we've got to build that up again, and where are we going to take that to this time? I want them to use the experience of last year and going. In the second round of the playoffs. I want them to use that. It's not thrown away. That's a very good experience that we have, and then with the players that we've added, with the experience they have, we should be able to. I want them to use that. So maybe I used the wrong term, but no, we're not throwing what we did last year away. We want to build on what we did last year.
Ernie, the landscape in the NBA's changed a little bit. The Eastern Conference has changed. Your opinions on LeBron going back to Cleveland, and obviously Miami looks a little different. Indiana without Paul George next year.
Well, I think everybody's saying the East is wide open. It is wide open. Anytime you know, you have the best player in the game moving teams. Of course, that's big news. And going back home, and they added another good player. So obviously, Cleveland is a much improved ball club. Chicago is a very good team. But we showed last year that if we play the right way, we can compete with just about anybody in the league. But it looks good on paper for them, and the landscape has changed. Miami's still going to be a good ball club. They still have some very good players. So Charlotte, I think, is an improved ball club. Atlanta is going to be better with Horford coming back. So it's going to be a very competitive situation. We feel good about what we can do, but as Randy said, you have to go out there and you have to play every single night, and you have to do it on the floor. But we feel good about where we are. If we can get home court in the first round, that'd be a good accomplishment for us, but nobody's just going to hand it to you, just like nobody's going to hand it to any of those other teams. You know, you have to come together. You have to go out and play the right way, both offensively and defensively, and then you always have some people come in who surprise you with what they can provide for you, and hopefully we have a couple of those players.
Have you guys been told a timeline or the date, general date for Martell's?
No, it's kind of just day to day. He's probably not obviously going to be 100% come Tuesday, but he's going to be able to do some things. And it's just, when you're dealing with the, back surgery, it's just a matter of your body, finally getting everything regenerized, the nerves and everything of that nature. So we got to be careful with that. But he's in here every day working and able to do some things, and we'll. I've never been a big guy. I can't ever, you don't ever hear me say 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. I just, it's one of those things you don't know. But he's progressing really well. And so, if that continues the way it is, he'll be back.
Last year the goal was to get into the playoffs. What do you anticipate now as being a goal for you guys? Winning the Southeast Division?
I think a little bit of everything. Again, you guys ask me this every year. I've never been a guy that we're going to win 54 games this year. I want us to take the next step with what we did last year. What is that going to lead to exactly? Is it going to be a division title? Is it going to be Eastern Conference Finals? Is it what is it going to be? And I think there's so much that goes on in 82 games, and you have to see how things play out. But I want them focused more on us, and you hear me say that all the time, and it's not coach speak. I truly believe. I don't want them to worry about what Cleveland is now or what Chicago is now or what Miami is now. I want them to worry about what we are now. And if we can do that and focus about keeping our house in order and doing the things that we have to do, as I said last year, I really believed it, that if we did that, we would put ourselves in a position to be in the playoffs and to maybe do something in the playoffs. So it's just, again, building on that, Michael, of being able to take that next step. And there's a lot of factors that go in that with health and everything, accustomed to that.
Randy, what have you observed about John's approach to this season and how he's matured?
Well, each year he's growing in front of my eyes. I saw a young kid, 1 year out of high school, walk in here that was wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, and now he's growing in, as we saw last year, and a difference this year, growing into being a leader, being a better player, understanding what it takes and what he has to do, that he can't be satisfied, and that's who John is. I mean, John is just a guy that loves this game, and now everything that's coming along with it, and the understanding of where winning now fits into everything, I think is where his growth has really come. So, he's again put in a great summer of not just being happy with what he did last year as an individual, and trying to. The great ones always add something to their game, and John is doing that for us. So it's just for me, it's been kind of a neat thing to see from when he came in here and where he is today and where he's going to end up. That's the intriguing thing for me. That where's a guy like John going to end up? Because he's still got things that he can do to improve, and if he continues to make those steps, it could be something really special.
Do you use the word maturity? Is that the word, or is it something else?
No, I think maturity is a good thing. I think it's just accountability. I think he understands everything that goes with being John Wall. The pressures, whether they're fair or unfair, that's part of who he is, and I think he's grown tremendously in that area of the weight of being a good player in this league and what comes with it and the expectations that fall on that. I think is an area that John over the last couple of years has grown accustomed to understanding what that's all about, and that's a big step. That's a big step that comes with that.
Randy, you've got some new coaches with you this year. How are their voices and skills fitting with what
Yeah, that's another thing, work in progress. I haven't worked with either Howard Isley or Roy Rogers up until this point. I know who they are and the people that they've worked with and the character that they bring and their strengths and weaknesses that I really wanted to try to find, for this staff. Now we'll find out now as we get into the meat and potatoes of it, of being on the floor every day and the work that they can do. But I think they're going to be a great bonus for us. Roy coming in with good experience with working with big guys. He was over there with Paul Pierce last year, has a good relationship with him, and he was with Chris Humphreys, and he's had some of these guys and relationship already built, and Howard being, I coached Howard as a rookie, and it's another one. It's almost like Andre Miller over again, but Andre's still playing. But Howard's brings that thing that you always need in terms of, especially with two young guys like Brad and John, of being able to relate to those two players, being able to relate to a guy like Howard that played in the league for what 13 years, I think, and the experiences that he's had and playing behind some really good players like a John Stockton. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm extremely lucky. I think that I was able to grab a couple guys like that.
Ernie, you picked up the option on Kevin Seraphin and declined on Trevor Booker. What was your decision process on those two moves?
Well, first of all, it came down financially what we wanted to do, and we had people at that position with Booker, and we actually signed this qualifying offer. Kevin Seraphin did. We just kept our rights, and big guys are harder to come by than the forward position. So that was our thinking on that. Kevin in the past has shown an ability to score in the low post, and he had a good summer for us. He worked hard, and now we'll see what he can do for us in the regular season. And it's going to be a very competitive situation, and I think all our big guys have to earn their minutes. Nobody's going to be handed minutes. We were talking about that with some of the other young guys, but that's the way this league works. You put your time in the off season. You try to get better. You try to work on individual things that you think you need to improve on, or the coaching staff tells the players that you guys need improvement on. But then when the season starts, when training camp starts, everybody has to earn their minutes, and Kevin is going to be one of those players.
Ernie, a lot of focus on acquiring Paul Pierce, but how critical also just talking about Humphreys and Blair's acquisition to helping this team have the talent to get to that next step?
Well, you never have enough bigs in this league. It's a long season, and those guys became available to us. And one of the things about Chris Humphreys, he's a pretty good 15, 17-foot jump shooter also. So he's pretty good in the pick and roll. He's a good rebounder. He's good athletically. He gets up and down the floor, which suits the way we like to play. And Blair has been in some big games. He's a tough guy. He can play power forwards. He can play some center. He's a very good rebounder, good passer for his size. So we wanted to add some real depth to the front court and versatility as far as depth is concerned also. And both of those players can play center if they need to, if we want to go a little smaller, and they can play the power forward position. So we feel now we have one of the deeper front lines in the league as far as the 4 or 5 position is concerned.
Randy, the 15th roster spot is currently open. What are your plans for that
Yeah, we'll look at a lot of different things probably with that. You can go a lot of different ways. You find somebody you like, you got a spot to put them in, or you can go into the season, with it open, and obviously, and training camp cuts, or all of a sudden there's a surprise move, somebody's let go. I think that flexibility is good going into the start of the year. But like I said, if I find somebody down in camp that I think will make us a better team, I'm going to go to Ernie and lobby to have that position filled in. But that's kind of what we've done the last couple of years in terms of having a little bit of flexibility as different opportunities might arise.
Ernie, what's your long-term goal and plans for how you see the team in 2-3 years shaping up?
Well, obviously we're focused on this coming year, but you also have to always have an eye on the future. So you have to make sure that you have some flexibility from a salary cap standpoint moving forward, and you have to have a nice balance of veteran players, players in their prime, and younger players. And I think we have a pretty nice balance of youth and experience that can work together. And at the same time, we have kept some flexibility also moving forward.
Coach, you talked about the assistant coaches you added, but how tough was it to lose the presence of Cassell? I mean,
Yeah, no,
he's going to play for coach with Doc a little bit.
It's twofold. Did I want to lose Sam? No. Love Sam and what he's been able to be here, not only for this organization, what he's done, but in the community and things of that nature. But I also want what's best for these coaches and young coaches like Sam of continuing to be able to take that next step. And I thought this was an opportunity that I could have easily said no, but I thought it was a great opportunity for him. And knowing Doc like I know Doc, I didn't want. I want to see good things happen to my coaches, and that was really the opportunity with Sam. And wish him luck, and I'm glad he's out west.
Ernie, you guys changed D-League affiliates, but essentially it's the same as last year. What are the long-term plans for you guys as regards to how you'll use the D-League?
Well, again, that remains to be seen. Last year we used it more than we had previously with Glenn Rice going down there. The way the whole system works, we have the Mad Ants, and we have 10 or 12 other teams that are using that now. If there's you can only have 4 players down there at one time from all those other teams. But then you can also have an affiliation with some of the single affiliate teams in the D-League. So going down the road, who knows what's going to happen? If there's an opportunity maybe to get our own team down the road at some time, maybe we'll look into that. But right now, we know those people down there. I think we'll have a good affiliation with them. There's going to be a tryout here coming up, I believe, on Sunday for players from this local area that are going to be trying out for that team. And we liked it. Last year, I thought it was very beneficial for Glenn, and I think we'll have a nice relationship with them. And if the roster spots are all full, then we'll have some other fallback positions that we can go to.
Anyone other than Martell? You expecting everybody to be full go for Tuesday?
Man, you're already asking those questions, huh? This is like before every game you ask me. Yeah, everybody's fine.
Sometimes I'll let someone else ask.
Yeah, no, everybody's fine.
Randy, I doubted that I'd ever see someone pour a bucket of ice water on you. How did someone convince you to do that?
Bradley Bill, boy, and I told him Tuesday it's going to be payback. No, it was kind of how that thing really is taken off. I think is a great sign, and obviously the cause that it's for is something that's been very beneficial. I think as we've seen the whole country kind of take into that. So then I got him involved. So he's really mad at me. So I said it all goes back to Bradley. So he's got hell to pay.
Randy, I'm assuming you watched Nene play in the World Cup. How much were you watching what he was doing? How much were you holding your breath?
No, never. You know what? I've learned a long time ago. If you start worrying about injuries or someone getting hurt, you're going to drive yourself nuts. And injuries are part of the game. I never look at it. I don't want our players to look at it. That's usually when you get hurt, when you're worried about getting hurt. So I think it was great. I mean, he's in good spirits, good shape. You know, I think I looked at the stats. You know, they had he and Splitter and Verjao on the same front line. I think they split 20 minutes a game in the course of the tournament. So it wasn't like he was out there for 40 minutes and you know, getting into a taxing situation. So you know, anytime you can play the game like that, I think is always a good thing. And national pride, we all know what that's all about. And so, you know, it worked out great, I thought. I think he's in a good place heading into this season and being in good shape, you know, ready to go.
Ernie, what convinced you that Courtois was worth that contract? And also, how much an advantage is it just not being locked in here 1 week before the season starts like it was last year and kind of just being routine?
Well, I think that's going to be huge, having him on the team for a year. We saw the kind of things he brings to the table. Big guys are very hard to come by in this league, especially guys that can move around a little bit. You know, he's a two-way player. He's a very good rebounder. He's a good defender, but he's also good on the offensive end. He runs great pick and rolls with John and Bradley. He's nimble. You know, he has good hands. He can finish with either hand. And he was a big part of what we tried to do. When you go into unrestricted free agency, and with a lot of teams having a lot of cap room, you never know what happens. And March hasn't had that many minutes on his body. You know, first 4 or 5 years of his career, he only played maybe 13, 14 minutes a night. So he still has a young body, and the chemistry that we build with March and Nene, John, and Bradley, who really formed the core of the team last year, was very important for us, and we felt it was very important to retain March, especially because it's so hard to find big guys and big guys with experience.
Seraphin, has he back to 100% from his knee issues toward the end of last season? And have you noticed anything with his approach this summer, considering he's on another contract?
No question. No, and I don't think it really has much to do with contract. I mean, this is a young kid that's, you know, as I talk, a lot of the same things I talked about John. I mean, this kid's coming in, then on top of it from France, and coming into a situation as a very young kid, not knowing what the NBA is all about and the rigors and of what you have to do and how you have to do it. I've seen that maturity in him this year, coming in here and understanding what he's got to do from his body situation and keeping it from a weight standpoint. And obviously, you know, the more weight you put on your body, the harder it is on your knees. And so he's really come in here and put his body in a position that it hasn't been in, you know, really since he was a rookie. I told him this today. I said his body looks like when he first came over here, and that's a good sign. So it's, again, maturity, understanding, you know, that the business of this game. It's a business. You know, it is a game, but I think now he's understanding what he needs to do to put himself into a situation to take full advantage of the most of this business opportunity.
Anything else, guys?
All right.
Thanks for coming out.
See you all next week.
Monday. I ain't seen him Monday.